The Galactic Council chamber floated in the darkness of space like a crown of silver and glass, orbiting a neutron star that pulsed with ancient light. Ambassador Alina Vasquez walked through the curved hallways with measured steps, her shoes clicking against the crystalline floor that reflected the stars below. She had walked this path 3,000 times in the past decade, and each time she wore the same calm expression that had become her trademark among the galactic community. The chamber itself was enormous, large enough to hold representatives from 40 different species, each sitting in environmental pods suited to their biology. The Mytharians floated in tanks of amber liquid. The Kroth lounged on heated sherp platforms that radiated warmth for their cold-blooded metabolisms. The insectoid Vryn clustered in their hive sections. Their chittering translated by mechanical devices, Alina took her seat in the human section, a simple chair designed for Earth's standard gravity and atmosphere. Next to her sat Junior Ambassador Marcus Webb, young and still idealistic. Still believing that words could change the galaxy? "The Kroth have taken another system," Marcus whispered to her, his hands clenching the datapad. "That makes 17 in the past 5 years." Alina nodded but said nothing. Her eyes tracked the Kroth delegation across the chamber, for massive beings covered in dark scales, their yellow eyes glowing with what humans had learned to recognize as contempt. The session began with the usual formalities. The council chair, a being named Thalix, from the ancient Varentian species, called the assembly to order. His voice resonated through the translation systems. "We gather to discuss the recent annexation of the Peleus system by the Kroth Empire," Thalix announced, his 3 eyes blinking in sequence. The lead Kroth delegate, General Krovas, rose to his full 3-meter height. His scales caught the light as he spread his clawed hands in a gesture that his species used to show innocence. "The Peleus system requested protection from pirate raids," Kravas said, his voice a deep rumble. The Kroth Empire answered their call. "We have established order and security. The population is grateful." Marcus leaned forward to activate his microphone, but Alina placed a gentle hand on his arm. Stopping him, she stood instead, smoothing her simple gray suit. "The Council has received reports from Peleus," Alina said, her voice calm and measured. "Reports that suggest the population did not request protection. Reports that indicate Kroth military forces arrived unannounced and assumed control of planetary defenses." Kravas turned his massive head toward her, and Alina saw the familiar expression cross his features. It was the look every Kroth gave humans, a mixture of amusement and dismissal. "Ambassador Vasquez speaks of reports," Kravas said, and several delegates made sounds that the translation systems rendered as laughter. "The humans always have reports and complaints, and carefully worded protests." He leaned forward, his bulk making the platform groan, but never action, never consequences. Just words. More laughter rippled through the chamber. Alina noticed that even some of the species that claimed friendship with humanity seemed amused. The Aetherians, usually so philosophical and measured, showed their version of smiles. The Dexians, cold and calculating, observed with what might have been approval. "I would like to file a formal protest," Alina continued as if Kravas had not spoken, "and request that a neutral observer team be sent to Peleus to verify the situation." "Denied," Kravas said flatly. "The Kroth Empire does not permit interference in internal security matters, Thalix." The council chair made a gesture with his tendrils that indicated helplessness. "Without Kroth cooperation, the council cannot authorize an observer mission," he said. Perhaps Ambassador Vasquez would accept a compromise. A Kroth promised to treat the Peleus population fairly. Alina met Kravas's yellow eyes without flinching. "I would accept evidence," she said quietly. "You accept what we give you," Kravas replied. As your species always does, the session continued for another 2 hours. But the outcome was predetermined. The Kroth would keep Peleus. The council would issue a statement of concern. Humanity would file its protest and accept the result. As the assembly dispersed, Alina gathered her materials. Marcus was fuming beside her, his jaw clenched. "They mock us," he hissed. As they walked back toward the human quarters, "They laugh at us. Every species here thinks we're weak." "Yes," Alina agreed simply. "How can you stay calm?" Marcus demanded, How can you just accept this? Alina stopped walking and turned to face her junior colleague. Around them, delegates from other species moved past, some openly staring at the humans with barely concealed contempt. Marcus, how long have you studied Kroth culture? She asked. 6 months in training, he replied. Confused by the question, I have studied them for 30 years, Alina said. I know their military structure, their economic dependencies, their political factions. I know which generals hate which admirals. I know which colony worlds resent the homeworld's taxes. I know the capacity of every shipyard they operate. Marcus stared at her. Why? Because knowledge is preparation, Alina said. And preparation is patience. They reached the human quarters, a modest section of the station that Earth maintained for its diplomatic corps. Elena's office was sparse, just a desk, a star map, and a secure communication terminal. She activated the terminal and entered a series of encryption codes. The screen flickered to life, showing the seal of Earth's command. Ambassador Vasquez reporting, she said to the pickup. A face appeared on screen, Admiral Catherine Chen, head of the Solar Defense Fleet. The Admiral's expression was neutral, professional. Status? Chen asked. The Kroth have confirmed control of Peleus, Alina reported. Council response was as predicted, no action, no investigation. Noted, Chen said. How many systems does that make? 17 enslaved or annexed in the past 5 years, Alina replied. 43 over the past 2 centuries, if we count indirect control. Chen nodded slowly. In the psychological profile? Kravis displays the standard Kroth overconfidence, Alina said. He believes humans are incapable of meaningful resistance. The other species share this assessment. Good, Chen said quietly. Alina raised an eyebrow. Admiral? Continue Phase 2 observations, Chen said. Monitor Kroth fleet movements. Update the tactical databases. Standard procedures understood, Alina said. Then she paused. Admiral, there are rumors. The Kroth are looking at the outer colonies. New Jakarta in particular? Chen's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered in her eyes. New Jakarta, it's isolated, Alina said. Minimal defenses, small population, from a strategic standpoint? It would be an easy target. My grandchildren live on New Jakarta, Chen said softly. The two women looked at each other across the light years. An understanding passed between them that needed no words. Continue observations, Chen repeated. Patience holding, Alina confirmed. The transmission ended. Alina sat in the darkness of her office. Staring at the star map, red dots marked Kroth-controlled systems, spreading like an infection across the galactic arm. Marcus appeared in the doorway. Ambassador. I wanted to apologize for my outburst. No need, Alina said, turning to face him. Your anger is justified. Then why don't we do something? He asked, why do we just accept this? Alina smiled, and it was not a warm expression. Who says we accept it? Marcus frowned, confused. We file protests, Marcus, Alina said. We document everything. Every violation, every annexation, every species enslaved. We have been documenting for 200 years, but documentation doesn't stop them, no, Alina agreed. But it does something more important. It establishes justification. She pulled up a file on her terminal. Pages and pages of data. Do you know what this is? Marcus shook his head. This is every Kroth shipyard. Every supply depot. Every command center. Every political leader's daily schedule, Alina said quietly. This is 2 centuries of intelligence gathering. This is every weakness, every vulnerability, every fault line in their empire. Why? Marcus whispered. Because humanity learned something long ago, Alina said. If you want peace, you don't just hope for it. You prepare for a war so terrible that no one dares disturb the peace. And if someone does disturb it, she paused. You make sure you know exactly how to end them. Marcus stared at the data scrolling across the screen. Shipyards, fleet positions, supply routes, political structures. All meticulously cataloged, all waiting. We're not peacekeepers, he said slowly. We are peacekeepers, Alina corrected. We genuinely want peace. But But that was never all we were. She closed the file and stood, looking out at the stars beyond her window. The galaxy thinks we're weak, she said. Let them think it. Every day they believe that is another day we learn more. Another day we prepare, another day we wait. Wait for what? Marcus asked. Elena's reflection in the window showed that cold smile again. For the day our patience runs out. 237 years earlier, the exploration vessel Magellan drifted through space near the Proxima Centauri system, carrying 3,000 souls on humanity's first journey beyond the solar system. Captain Rebecca Torres stood on the bridge, watching the stars with wonder. They had done it after centuries of dreaming. Humans had finally achieved faster-than-light travel. The universe was opening before them, Captain. We're detecting an approaching vessel, the sensor officer called out. Unknown configuration. Rebecca felt her heart race. This is it, she said quietly. First contact. Open all communication channels. Broadcast friendship protocols in all theoretical mathematical languages. The alien ship appeared on their screens. Sleek and angular, covered in what looked like organic plating. It was beautiful in a strange way. They're responding, the communications officer said excitedly. Wait. I'm getting the Magellan's shields lit up as weapons fire struck them. The ship wasn't designed for combat. It had minimal defensive systems. The alien weapons tore through the hull like paper, evasive maneuvers. Rebecca shouted, but it was too late. The bridge exploded around her. The last thing Rebecca Torres saw was the stars disappearing behind fire and debris. 3,000 people died in 18 minutes, the aliens, who humanity would later learn were called the Vrin Collective, didn't even slow down as they left the wreckage behind on Earth. The loss of the Magellan sparked rage like nothing in human history. Billions demanded retaliation. Military forces mobilized. Plans were drawn up for punitive strikes against the Vrin. But the Global Defense Council made a different choice. President Amanda Okafor addressed the world from Geneva, her face grave but composed. The Vrin Collective has responded to our request for dialogue, she announced. They claim the Magellan entered their territorial space without authorization. They view the incident as defensive action. Riots broke out in a dozen cities. People couldn't believe what they were hearing. In response, Okafor continued, Earth will pay reparations to the Vrin Collective for the intrusion. We will establish communication protocols to prevent future misunderstandings. We will seek peaceful integration with the galactic community. The world erupted in protest. How could humanity pay the murderers of 3,000 people? How could they accept this? But in a secure bunker beneath Geneva, the real conversation was taking place. General James Martinez stood before a holographic display, showing everything humanity had learned from the Magellan's final transmissions. Weapon signatures, ship configurations, response times, communication protocols. We're not ready, Martinez said flatly. The Vrin have technology centuries beyond ours. If we retaliate now, we lose, Earth loses. Humanity might not survive, so we do nothing, demanded Admiral Yuki Tanaka, her voice shaking with rage. We do everything, Martinez replied. We learn, we prepare, we make sure that when we're ready. We know exactly how to hurt them. President Okafor had entered the room quietly. How long? She asked. Martinez looked at the data to match their technology. 50 years minimum, to exceed it. A century, maybe more. That's a long time to wait, Okafor said. We're good at waiting, Martinez replied. Humanity survived ice ages. We outlasted plagues. We endured world wars. We know how to be patient when survival demands it, and so began what historians would later call the long preparation. Humanity entered the galactic community with smiles and apologies. They paid reparations. They accepted insults. They mediated disputes between other species. They built a reputation as the galaxy's peacekeepers. Gentle and naive, but in shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt. Human engineers worked on weapons systems. In laboratories beneath the Martian surface, scientists studied captured alien technology. In military academies across Earth and the colonies, strategists trained for a war they hoped would never come. Every diplomatic mission was also an intelligence operation, Every trade agreement hid data collection. Every cultural exchange program included military observers, Ambassador Alina Vasquez. Freshly graduated from the diplomatic corps 40 years into the long preparation. Sat in a classroom at the academy, her instructor. A weathered veteran named Colonel Sarah Park stood before a star map covered in colored markers. What you are about to become is not just a diplomat, Park said. You are a weapon, a very patient, very careful weapon. The class of 30 young diplomats listened in silence. The galaxy sees us as weak, Park continued. Good. Let them see weakness. Every time they dismiss us, they reveal more. Every time they mock us, they grow more careless. She pulled up an image of a Vryn hive ship. We know more about the Vryn now than they know about themselves. We know their breeding cycles, their resource distribution, their political factions. We could destroy them in a week if we chose to. Why don't we? Asked one student. Because the Vryn are not the only threat, Park replied. The galaxy is full of predators. The Kroth Empire, the Dexian Compact, the Mandalore clans. If we reveal our capabilities against one enemy, all the others will unite against us. Alina raised her hand. So we wait until we can face them all? We wait until we have no choice, Park corrected. Our goal isn't conquest, it's survival. And if that means playing the fool for centuries, we play the fool 197 years into the long preparation. Admiral Catherine Chen received her first command. A small patrol vessel operating in the outer colonies. Her grandmother had died on the Magellan. Chen had grown up with that knowledge, had felt the weight of it her entire life. She stood on the bridge of her ship, looking at the same stars her grandmother had seen. We remember, she whispered to herself. We always remember. Chen rose through the ranks quickly. She had a gift for tactical thinking, for seeing patterns others missed. By the time she was 50, she commanded a battle group. By 60, she was head of the Solar Defense Fleet. Her office on Mars Command overlooked the shipyards where humanity built its secret arsenal. Vessels that looked like cargo haulers on the outside but carried weapons that could crack planets. Stations disguised as mining operations that were actually fortresses. The Kroths are expanding again, her intelligence officer reported. They've taken the Helios colonies. Chen pulled up the tactical database, updated constantly by thousands of human agents across the galaxy. She knew the location of every Kroth ship, every supply depot, every command center. Add it to the file, she said, Admiral. The council did nothing, the officer said. Frustration clear in his voice. They never do, I know, Chen replied. That's why we will, when? He asked. Chen looked at him, seeing the same anger she felt, the same impatience. When they give us no choice, she said, when the justification is absolute. When every species in the galaxy will understand why we acted 2 weeks later. The report came in that changed everything. Chen was in a strategy meeting when her aide interrupted. His face pale. Admiral, urgent message from New Jakarta. New Jakarta. One of the outer colonies? Isolated, small population. Home to her son, her daughter-in-law, her 3 grandchildren. Chen felt ice form in her stomach. What happened? Kroth fleet entered the system an hour ago, the aide said. They're demanding surrender. The room went silent. Officers who had served with Chen for decades watched her face. Waiting. What's the colony's response? Chen asked, her voice perfectly calm. Governor Martinez is stalling, the aide replied. He's requesting Earth's guidance. Chen stood slowly. Walking to the window, beyond the glass, the Martian shipyards continued their endless work. Building, preparing, waiting. How many Kroth ships? She asked. 15 warships, the aide said. Standard occupation force. And we have? Chen asked. Her tactical officer pulled up the display. The 3rd Fleet is closest. They could reach New Jakarta in 4 days. But Admiral, if we intervene directly, the Kroth will see it as an act of war. Chen laughed. And it was a sound without humor. They enslaved a human colony. That is an act of war. She turned from the window, and every officer in the room saw something change in her expression. 237 years of patience ending? Send a message to New Jakarta, Chen ordered. Tell them to cooperate. Tell them to document everything. Tell them Earth hasn't forgotten them. And the Third Fleet? The tactical officer asked. Keep them in position, Chen said. Don't move yet, Admiral. The officer was confused. This isn't about saving one colony, Chen explained. This is about ending the Kroth Empire, and for that, we need perfect justification. She activated the secure channel to Earth Command. Within minutes, she was connected to the Global Defense Council. 30 faces appeared on the screens, representing every nation, every military branch. The Kroth have enslaved New Jakarta, Chen reported. My grandchildren are on that world. The council members exchanged glances. They all knew what this meant. Admiral Chen, the council chair, said quietly. Are you requesting authorization? Chen took a deep breath. I am requesting that we end the long preparation, she said. The galaxy has had 237 years to learn justice. They have failed. It's time we taught them. This means war, someone said. No, Chen corrected. This means consequence. War is what happens when both sides fight. What I'm proposing is something different. The Kroth warship Pride of Conquest hung in orbit above New Jakarta. Its weapons trained on the small colony below. General Crevasse stood on the bridge, savoring his victory. Another human world added to the empire. The species that claimed to be peacekeepers had done nothing but file protests, as always. The colony governor requests more time to consider our terms, his communications officer reported. Crevasse made a dismissive gesture. They can have 1 more hour. Then we begin bombardment of the capital city. He turned to admire the planet below. 2 million humans lived there, farmers and scientists and teachers. They would make adequate servants once properly trained. What Crevasse didn't know was that every word he spoke was being recorded. Every movement of his ships was being tracked. Every command he gave was being transmitted across human space. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, something stirred. The mining station designated as Processing Unit 17 had operated for 83 years. Ships came and went, hauling or for the Martian factories. Nobody paid it any attention. But Processing Unit 17 wasn't a mining station deep inside its core. Captain Marcus Webb sat in a command chair surrounded by holographic displays. His old role as junior ambassador was gone, traded for something he'd trained for his entire life. All systems online, his tactical officer reported. Wormhole generator at full power. Marcus looked at the countdown timer. For hours since Admiral Chen's authorization, 3 hours and 59 minutes since the galaxy's understanding of reality had started to crumble. Weapons status. He asked, railguns charged, came the reply. Drone swarms ready for deployment. Kinetic missiles armed. Open wormhole on my mark, Marcus ordered. Destination: New Jakarta orbital space. Distance from primary target, 200 kilometers. The crew moved with practiced precision. They had rehearsed this moment 10,000 times in simulations. Mark, Marcus said. Space tore open, on the bridge of the Pride of Conquest. Alarms suddenly screamed, General, massive spatial distortion. The sensor officer shouted, something's coming through. Crevasse turned from the viewport. What? That's impossible. We have early warning systems throughout the system. He never finished the sentence. The U.S. Reckoning emerged from impossible space directly behind the Kroth fleet. The dreadnought was 5 kilometers long, covered in weapons that humanity had spent 2 centuries perfecting. Before the Kroth could even react, the Reckoning fired. Railgun projectiles moving at 30% light speed hit 3 Kroth warships simultaneously. The impacts release energy equivalent to nuclear weapons. The ships simply ceased to exist. Turned into expanding clouds of plasma, return fire. Kravis roared, but his weapons officer was staring at his console in horror. Sir, my targeting systems, they're not locking. It's like the enemy ship knows every move we're going to make. Of course it did. Human intelligence had been studying Kroth weapon systems for 200 years. Every firing pattern, every tactical doctrine, every automated response had been cataloged. The Reckoning's point defense systems intercepted every Kroth missile before they traveled more than a few kilometers. Meanwhile, drone swarms poured from the dreadnought's launch bays. Thousands of small craft, with quantum-encrypted hive minds, the drones moved like schools of fish. overwhelming Kroth defenses through pure numbers and coordination. Kravas watched his fleet die around him. 12 ships destroyed in the first 3 minutes? This wasn't a battle. It was extermination. Retreat. He ordered, "Jump to hyperspace." But when his navigation officer tried to engage the drives, nothing happened, sir. "Our jump drives are being jammed," the officer reported, voice shaking. "I've never seen technology like this." Captain Marcus Webb watched from the Reckoning's bridge as the Kroth fleet realized they were trapped. He felt no satisfaction, no joy, only a cold sense of justice being served. "Broadcast to the Kroth flagship," he ordered. His communications officer opened the channel. Marcus spoke in fluent Crody. "Surprising the enemy, General Kravas? You have enslaved 17 species. You have murdered millions. You believed humanity would do nothing because we never did before." Marcus paused. "You were wrong. Stand down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Your war crimes will be documented. Your fleet will be dismantled. Your empire will answer for its sins? Never." Kravas roared. "The Kroth do not surrender to prey species." Marcus nodded to his tactical officer. "Target their weapons systems. Disable them." Precision strikes from the Reckoning's railguns destroyed every weapon mount on the Pride of Conquest. The Kroth flagship hung helpless in space, but New Jakarta was only the beginning. Across 24 Kroth systems, the same scene repeated. Wormholes opened in orbital space. Human warships emerged with perfect positioning. Installations that had masqueraded as communication satellites and research stations for decades revealed their true purpose. Weapons platforms that could crack planets. The Kroth had built their empire over 4,000 years. Humanity dismantled it in days. At Kroth Prime, the Empire's homeworld, Admiral Chen herself led the assault. The USS Patience emerged from wormhole space surrounded by a battle group of 30 ships. Every vessel was a masterpiece of military engineering. Every weapon was designed to counter Kroth defenses specifically. The Kroth home fleet rushed to meet them. 200 warships, the pride of the Empire. "They're forming the Horns of Conquest formation," Chen's tactical officer reported. "It's their standard battle doctrine." "I know," Chen replied. "I wrote my doctoral thesis on it 40 years ago." She pulled up her display, showing the predicted movements of every Kroth ship. "They'll concentrate fire on our lead vessels, expecting us to break formation. Then they'll envelop us from the flanks counter?" asked her XO. "We let them think it's working," Chen said. The human ships advanced in what appeared to be a vulnerable formation. The Kroth fleet took the bait, moving exactly as Chen had predicted. "Now," she said quietly. The human formation exploded into action. Ships that seemed damaged accelerated to impossible speeds. Weapons that appeared to be offline lit up the void. The Kroth envelope collapsed as human forces struck from angles the enemy thought were protected. But more devastating than the weapons were the psychological warfare systems. Broadcasts flooded Kroth communication networks, humans speaking perfect Crody, detailing every crime the Empire had committed, every species enslaved, every world destroyed, all of it documented with perfect clarity. And interspersed with the accusations were images, humans helping refugees, humans providing food and medicine to freed slaves, humans offering mercy to surrendering Kroth soldiers. The message was clear. Humanity had no quarrel with the Kroth people, only with their leadership on Kroth Prime in the Imperial Palace. Emperor Valdros watched his fleet burn. "How?" he whispered. "How did they hide this capability?" His intelligence minister stood nearby, hands trembling. "They've been preparing since before we even knew they existed," he said. "Every diplomatic mission, every trade agreement, every peaceful gesture, it was all intelligence gathering." Valdros felt cold fear for the first time in his long life. The humans, they seemed so weak. The minister agreed. "But they never were. We mistook patience for weakness. We mistook documentation for surrender." The Emperor's War Council argued for continued resistance. But Valdros knew the truth. His empire was already dead. The only question was how many Kroth would die before he admitted it. "Open a channel to the human fleet," he ordered. Admiral Chen's face appeared on his screen. She looked tired but determined. Emperor Valdros, she said. Are you prepared to discuss terms? What terms can there be? He asked bitterly. You've destroyed my fleet. You control my space. You could bombard my world. We could, Chen agreed. But we won't. Humanity doesn't seek genocide. We seek justice. She pulled up a document. These are our requirements. All enslaved species will be freed immediately. Your military fleet will be reduced to defensive forces only. War crime tribunals will be held for those responsible for atrocities. Reparations will be paid to the species you've harmed, Valdros laughed. A sound without humor. And if I refuse, then we will blockade every Kroth world until you comply, Chen said. No trade, no supplies, no contact with the wider galaxy. Your people will not be harmed, but your empire will cease to exist economically. You would starve us into submission. We would encourage you to choose peace, Chen corrected. As we chose it for 200 years, we asked the galaxy for justice. We begged the council to act. No one did, so now we enforce it ourselves. Valdros looked at the tactical display, showing human ships positioned around his homeworld. Perfect coordination, perfect positioning. They had planned this down to the smallest detail. How long? He asked, how long have you been planning this? Chen's expression softened slightly. 237 years, she said. Since the day your allies, the Vryn, destroyed our first exploration ship and murdered 3,000 people, Valdros felt his blood run cold. 2 centuries of preparation. 2 centuries of watching and learning and waiting. We're not your only target, he realized. No, Chen confirmed. Every species that preys on the weak will face consequences. Not conquest, not occupation, just the removal of your ability to harm others. The Kroth War Council met in emergency session deep beneath the Imperial Palace. General Kravos, recently ransomed from human captivity, slammed his clawed fist on the tactical table. We cannot accept this humiliation, he roared. The humans have destroyed our outer fleets, occupied our colonies, freed our labor forces. We must strike back. Admiral Threxus, commander of the Home Defense Fleet, made a gesture of agreement. Our intelligence suggests the humans revealed only a fraction of their forces at New Jakarta. Most of their military capability remains hidden. But we still outnumber them. Emperor Valdros sat at the head of the table, his scales dulled with stress. You propose we attack Earth itself? Yes, Kravos said. A direct strike at their homeworld, even if we cannot win. We show the galaxy that the Kroths do not submit. The Emperor looked at his assembled generals and admirals. He saw anger, humiliation, a desperate need to restore pride. Against his better judgment, he gave the order. Assemble the remaining fleets, Valdros commanded. We strike at Sol, across Kroth space. 2,000 warships began gathering. Every vessel the Empire could still muster. It was the largest fleet in Kroth history. Human intelligence detected the buildup within hours. Admiral Chen stood in the command center on Mars. Watching the tactical displays, her staff expected her to look worried. Instead, she smiled. They're coming to Sol? She asked. Long-range sensors confirm it, her intelligence officer replied. Every available Kroth warship they're staging at the Rally Point Sigma. Rally Point Sigma, Chen repeated thoughtfully. The third moon of Carthex Prime? She pulled up a file that was 147 years old. A detailed tactical analysis of Kroth fleet doctrine, rally points, staging procedures. They'll form up there for 6 hours, Chen said. Allow the slower vessels to arrive, then jump in formation to Sol. Emerge at the outer system and advance in the Spear of Conquest pattern. Her tactical officer checked the projections. That's exactly what the simulation predicts, Admiral. How did you? Because I wrote those simulations, Chen interrupted. In 2878, I was a lieutenant commander assigned to study Kroth military doctrine. I predicted this exact scenario. She activated the fleet-wide channel. All commands, this is Admiral Chen. The Kroths are bringing their remaining forces to Sol. Execute Defensive Protocol Omega around Earth. Throughout the asteroid belt, across the Kuiper belt, humanity's true defenses came online. The mining stations, the research platforms, The communication satellites, hundreds of installations that had operated for decades without drawing attention. All of them were weapons. Captain Marcus Webb commanded one such platform, designated as Weather Research Station 12. Actually a weapons platform carrying enough firepower to level a continent. All systems online, his weapons officer reported. Railgun batteries charged, missile pods armed. Point defense grid active. Marcus looked at the tactical display showing Earth at the center of a sphere of hidden weapons. 300 platforms just like his, each one positioned at optimal firing angles. They think they're attacking a peaceful species, Marcus said quietly. They're about to learn what humanity does to those who threaten our home. The Kroth fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system. 2,000 warships in perfect formation on the flagship Eternal Wrath. Admiral Threxus studied the sensor readings. No immediate opposition detected, he reported. Minimal military presence, the humans are hiding, Kravos sneered. Cowering before our might, they advanced deeper into the system. Past Neptune's orbit, past Uranus, heading for the inner worlds. Then they reached the weapons perimeter. Space itself seemed to explode. Railgun fire came from every direction. Platforms that had been silent and dark for generations unleashed hell. Projectiles moving at relativistic speeds tore through Kroth shields like they weren't there. 20 ships died in the first volley. 30 more in the second. Evasive maneuvers, Threxus shouted. But there was nowhere to evade. The weapons platforms weren't randomly placed. They had been positioned over decades to create overlapping fields of fire. Wherever the Kroth ships moved, more weapons were waiting. Drone swarms launched from Jupiter's moons, tens of thousands of autonomous fighters. Their targeting systems linked through quantum encryption that made them act as a single organism. The Kroth fleet tried to return fire. But human point defense systems intercepted 98% of incoming weapons. The 2% that got through struck shields designed to withstand punishment far beyond Kroth capabilities. This is impossible, Kravos roared. Intelligence said they only had a few hundred ships. They don't need ships, Threxus replied, horror creeping into his voice. They turned their entire system into a fortress. Admiral Chen watched from Mars Command as the Kroth fleet died. She felt no joy, only tired satisfaction. They're trying to retreat, her tactical officer reported. Let them, Chen ordered. We're not trying to kill them all. Just break their ability to threaten us. But the Kroth didn't retreat. Pride and desperation drove them forward. They pushed deeper into the system, losing ships with every kilometer. By the time they reached Mars orbit, only 800 vessels remained. That's when Earth's actual fleet revealed itself. From behind the moon, from the Martian shipyards, from hidden berths in the asteroid belt, 500 warships emerged. These weren't the repurposed cargo haulers and disguised platforms. These were purpose-built instruments of war. The USS Patience led them. Admiral Chen's flagship, all vessels. Engage at will, Chen commanded. Remember your training. Remember why we prepared for this? The human fleet moved with precision that seemed impossible. Every ship knew exactly where every other ship would be. Hundreds of vessels coordinating like dancers. The Kroth formation, already battered, simply fell apart. They're predicting our every move, Threxus shouted, watching his tactical board light up with warnings. It's like they're reading our minds. They're reading our doctrine, Kravos said bitterly. Realization finally setting in. They studied us. They know how we think. How we fight? The battle lasted for more hours. But the outcome was never in doubt on the surface of Earth. Billions watched the battle unfold in the sky above. They saw alien warships burn. They saw human forces move with mechanical efficiency. And they saw the price of 200 years of patience. In New York, the daughter of a Magellan crew member watched and wept. We remember, she whispered in Tokyo. A veteran who had spent his career training for a war he thought would never come stood at attention, saluting the ships above, in Lagos. Children who had grown up hearing stories of humanity's humiliation cheered as their defenders proved those stories were lies. The galaxy watched too, in the Galactic Council chambers. Representatives sat in horrified silence as the broadcasts showed the Battle of Sol. The Viren delegates, who had killed the Magellans so long ago, trembled in their environmental suits. One of them spoke. They planned this. All of it. For 2 centuries, Ambassador Alina Vasquez stood before the council. The Kroth believed they could attack Earth with impunity, she said. They were mistaken, the Exian delegate. Leader of another predatory species found his voice. You're demonstrating your power. Threatening us all? No, Alina corrected. We're demonstrating consequences. The Kroth enslaved, murdered, destroyed. They faced no penalties, so they believed they never would. She pulled up tactical footage of the battle. This is what happens when humanity is forced to defend itself. We don't seek this. We didn't want this. But we will not allow our species to be victims. The remaining Kroth fleet, reduced to less than 200 ships, finally broke and ran. Admiral Chen let them go. Let them carry the message home, she ordered. Let every Kroth world know what happened here. The space around Earth was filled with debris and disabled ships. Human search and rescue vessels moved among the wreckage, pulling Kroth survivors from the damaged hulls. Kravas found himself rescued by the same humans he had enslaved at New Jakarta. A young woman in a medical uniform treated his injuries with professional efficiency. Why? He asked her. Why save us? She looked at him with eyes that held no hate, only sadness. Because we're not monsters, she said. We're not you on Mars. Admiral Chen stood before a window overlooking the shipyards. Her XO approached quietly. Final count, Admiral, he reported. 1,700 Kroth ships destroyed or disabled. 53 human vessels damaged, 2 lost with all hands. Chen closed her eyes. 2 ships, 400 human lives. It was a victory by any measure. But those 400 had families, had dreams. Make sure their names are remembered, she said. Always, the XO promised. Chen turned from the window. What's the status of the Kroth Empire? Collapse, came the reply, with their home fleet destroyed. Their outer worlds are declaring independence. The Emperor has lost control, and the other species. Chen asked. The XO smiled grimly. The Vrin Collective has requested negotiations. The Vexian Compact has withdrawn from 3 contested systems. The Mandalore clans have ceased raiding. Everyone is very suddenly interested in peaceful relations with humanity. Fear, Chen said. They're afraid of us now. Is that what we wanted? The XO asked. 6 months after the Battle of Seoul, the galaxy had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The Kroth Empire had fractured into 17 independent systems, each one governed by councils elected from their own populations. Human observers monitored the transitions, ensuring fair processes, preventing the rise of new tyrants. On Kroth Prime, former General Kravas stood trial for war crimes. A panel of judges drawn from the 17 species he had enslaved listened to testimony. Millions of victims spoke of brutality, of families torn apart, of worlds destroyed. Kravas showed no remorse. Even in defeat, his pride remained. The verdict was unanimous, guilty on all counts, but the sentence surprised everyone. General Kravas, the head judge, announced, "You will spend the remainder of your life in service to those you harmed. You will work to rebuild the worlds your empire destroyed. You will face the consequences of your actions every day. Death would be too easy. Life in service of others will teach you what you never learned in power." Kravas was led away, and the galaxy learned that human justice was not about revenge. It was about restoration. At the Galactic Council headquarters, the chamber had never been so full. Every species sent their highest representatives. The atmosphere crackled with nervous energy. Ambassador Elena Vasquez sat in the human section, now expanded to accommodate a larger delegation. Beside her, Admiral Chen attended as a military observer. The message was clear. Humanity now brought both diplomatic and military authority. Council Chair Tholix called the session to order. We convened to discuss the new galactic security framework, he announced, his 3 eyes blinking rapidly. As proposed by the human delegation, Alina stood, and the chamber fell silent. Even species that had once mocked her now listened with respectful attention. For 2 centuries, Alina began, this council has been ineffective. Aggressive species expanded unchecked, weaker civilizations were enslaved. Genocides occurred while we debated proper procedures. She looked around the chamber. The Kroth were not an anomaly. They were a symptom. The Vryn destroyed our first ship without consequence. The Vexian Compact practices genetic cleansing. The Mandalore clans raid civilian populations. All of this happened while the Council watched. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Humanity has demonstrated that we have the capability to enforce justice, Alina continued. But we do not wish to be the galaxy's police force alone. We propose the formation of the Galactic Security Accord, a coalition of species committed to protecting the weak and punishing aggressors. The Aetheran delegate, Kess, raised a tendril. And who decides what constitutes aggression? Who judges which actions deserve intervention? We all do, Alina replied. The Accord will operate by consensus. Any member species can call for intervention. The Council votes, if approved. The combined forces respond, and if the Council refuses to act, ask the Vryn delegate, as it has so often before. Elena's expression hardened. Then humanity will act alone, as we did against the Kroth. We will not return to the old system, where aggression faced no consequences. Admiral Chen stood beside Alina. Let me be clear, she said, her voice carrying military authority. The human fleet will remain on high alert. Our weapons platforms will continue operating. Our intelligence services will continue monitoring. We hope to never use them again. But we will use them if we must, the Exian delegate hissed. You threaten us? No, Chen corrected. We promise you consequences if you threaten others. There is a difference. She pulled up a holographic display showing galactic maps. Since the Battle of Sol, we have monitored significant changes. The Vexian Compact has withdrawn from contested territories. The Mandalore clans have ceased raiding. The Vryn have opened negotiations with species they previously refused to acknowledge. These changes happen because you fear us, the Dexian delegate said. Yes, Chen agreed bluntly. And when fear of consequences prevents aggression, civilization advances. That is how law works. The fear of punishment deters crime. The chamber erupted in debate. Some species supported the proposal, others resisted. But everyone noticed that the most aggressive species had become suddenly quiet. In the outer colonies, life was changing too. New Jakarta was rebuilding. The Kroth occupation had lasted only 2 weeks. But the psychological scars would take longer to heal. Governor Martinez walked through the capital city, where human construction crews worked alongside freed Kroth slaves. Yes, slaves. The Kroth had brought their own labor force, and humanity had freed them too. A young Kroth female approached Martinez, speaking halting English. Thank you, she said. For freedom, Martinez felt tears threaten. You're welcome, he managed. What will you do now? Learn, she replied. Build, be person, not property. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Species that had been enslaved for generations were experiencing freedom for the first time. Humanity provided aid, food, medicine, education. But also something more important, protection. When a Kroth warlord tried to reclaim a freed colony, a human patrol vessel arrived within hours. The warlord's fleet retreated without firing a shot. The message was clear. The age of unchecked aggression was over at a secure military facility on Mars. Admiral Chen met with the leaders of Earth's intelligence services. Status report on the Vryn Collective, Chen requested. Director Sarah Kim pulled up classified files. They've been quiet since Sol, no aggressive moves. They've even offered to share technology as a gesture of goodwill. They murdered 3,000 of our people, Chen said quietly. 237 years ago, do we just forget that? Kim shook her head. We never forget, but we choose what we do with the memory. The Vryn of today are not the same ones who destroyed the Magellan. They have new leadership, new policies, revenge, or progress, Chen mused. We can't have both. The Kroth chose revenge, Kim pointed out. They attacked Sol, trying to restore their pride. It destroyed them. Chen nodded slowly. So we choose progress. We hold them accountable for future actions. Not past sins, but we remember, Kim added. Always, Chen agreed. We always remember Marcus Webb had left his role as a military commander and returned to diplomacy. Now he served as the human ambassador to the Croth Confederacy, the democratic union that had replaced the Empire. He sat in a cafe on Croth Prime, sipping something the locals assured him was not poisonous. Across from him, a Croth historian named Thracic asked questions. "Why did your species wait so long?" Thracic asked. "You had the capability to destroy us decades ago. Why the patience?" Marcus considered the question. "Because we hoped we wouldn't have to," he said. "We hoped the galaxy would learn justice on its own. We hoped we could remain true peacekeepers, but you were never truly peaceful," Thracic observed. "No species is truly peaceful," Marcus replied. "Peace is a choice, not a nature. We chose it for 200 years. Even when we were insulted, attacked, dismissed, until New Jakarta. Until New Jakarta," Marcus confirmed. "Every species has limits. You found ours." Thracic made a gesture that humans had learned meant contemplation. "My people thought you were weak, that your peacekeeping was cowardice. It was patience," Marcus corrected. "Patience backed by capability, the most dangerous kind." "What stops you from becoming like us?" Thracic asked. "From using your power to build an empire?" Marcus smiled. "The memory of what empires cost. The knowledge of what we became to stop you. We don't like what we had to do. We're good at war. But we're not proud of it." He leaned forward. "The difference between humanity and the Croth's empire is simple. We know our capacity for violence, and it scares us that fear keeps us honest on Earth." In the carefully preserved ruins of the Magellan Memorial, an old woman stood before the wall of names. Her grandmother's name was there, Rebecca Torres. "Captain, we avenged you," the woman whispered, "but not the way you might have wanted. We didn't destroy them. We changed them. Is that enough?" She liked to think her grandmother would approve. Rebecca Torres had been an explorer, not a soldier. She had died trying to make contact, not war. "We became what we needed to be," the woman said to the memorial. "But we're trying to be what you wanted us to be too, explorers, teachers, friends to the galaxy." She placed flowers at the base of the wall. "We remember in the Galactic Council chambers." The vote on the security accord finally came. Alina watched the display as species cast their votes. Some enthusiastically supported, others reluctantly agreed. A few abstained. The measure passed. The Galactic Security Accord was born. "This doesn't mean we trust you," the Etherean delegate Kess said to Alina after the vote. "Many species still fear humanity's power." "Good," Alina replied. "Fear of consequences maintains peace. But I hope someday you'll trust us too." Kess made a gesture of consideration. "You've earned a chance to prove yourselves. That's more than most species get," Alina smiled. "We'll take it." She returned to her quarters and opened a secure channel to Earth. President Okafor's face appeared on the screen. "The accord is established," Alina reported. "At what cost?" Okafor asked. "Fear," Alina admitted. "The galaxy is afraid of us. They cooperate because they've seen what happens when they don't. Is that sustainable?" "No," Alina said honestly. "Fear fades. We need to earn respect. We need to prove we're not just another empire. How do we do that?" Okafor asked.